So today I want to show you how you could use the Korg nanoKONTROL 2 to theoretically write an entire song. It's a great product, and I've seen a lot of reviews on these, and not bashing on any of those reviews, but I mostly see people talking about this as a way to be a form of a tangible, holdable mixing board, a way to launch new tracks during a DJ session or something like that. But I don't really see a lot of information about how you could use this as a truly creative device for songwriting and for recording. And by recording, I don't just mean as a traditional mixer. So I have a Ableton live session pulled up here. And I want to show you a more unique way of thinking about how to record this. So you can see we're in session view, and everything that we have is in the first scene. We're only going to be working in one scene. This is not going to be a multi-scene setup. We're basically going to control the way that we introduce new parts of the song through the mixing board itself. So, first thing I want you to do, go over to this MIDI button in the top right corner, click it. Everything that is programmable is now highlighted in blue. I'm going to go over to my kick, my first channel here, click on what I want to program into the controller. I'm going to go to my very first fader, which is the one I want for my kick, and I'm just going to move it up and down. And we can see it's now assigned to 1/0, which is the number that comes as the name for this specific fader. I think if you go into the software that Korg provides, you can change it to whatever you want, but I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. And we can do this with every part of the actual controller. So I'm going to go up here to one of my send tracks, and I'm going to just turn it to be this knob on the actual panel itself. And let me explain my return tracks really quick. So I'm going to pop out of that menu. I have 4 of them. They're on the right here. If you wanted to insert more, all you have to do is right click and insert return track. But I'm just going to stick with these 4. The first of them is just a standard echo from Ableton. All these are just stock plugins, and I have it on ping pong setting. I literally did nothing else. Fine China, 3 plugins. I can't explain them in full, but I do know that whenever I put them together, it kind of sounds like when you're banging on glass or on porcelain. So I chose that for one of my effects. Just a basic reverb next. And then we have a distortion, which I send some of the channels to inside of here. And that gives us a nice like tribal effect. And you'll see the track itself is pretty tribal. Right, so now that we have the kick programmed, I wanted to program one more thing. Our percussion needs both A and B sends on this knob itself. So I can just click it, turn it, click it, turn it. We can have multiple effects going to the exact same knob. So now you can see if I turn this, we're now synced up with Ableton itself. Right, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get to playing. So I'm going to launch the entire track. Now, if you notice, nothing's playing because all of our tracks are turned down. And I should say, everything else on this track I already programmed. I didn't want to go through the whole thing with you. So I'm going to bring in the percussion first. I'm going to send it some more modulation by upping these sends. Now I'm going to bring in the bongos. This snare, and I'm going to bring it in and out for some nice ambient effects, I guess. And then fully in. And then in a second, I'm going to bring in the kick. Now. Distortion on the kick. Back down. Right, next is the bass. more distortion. I just have these programmed into my knobs. Next, I'm going to bring in some vocals. Vocals. Now my last track is just this conga loop. I'm going to add some more distortion to it. Just like that. So you can see if I would have committed this to a recording by just hitting the red button right there, all of this would have printed out via automation lanes. Everything would cut out whenever the automation is at 0 or when the track mixer itself is at 0. And it all would have come back in as soon as I bring it in. The automation lanes would literally be automated like by our fingers, just like an old style console. Great. So one thing I wanted to point out as well is you can have multiple channels set to one mixer. So for example, I have a bass left and right for a stereo that I made on my synth over there. If I bring it in, both of them are controlled by one fader. I did the same thing with the background vocals. So in this way, you can see if you assign multiple different instruments to one fader, you could bring in whole sections at a time with this sort of with this volume technique, and go through the entire sections, bring through multiple instruments at a time, just with the fader itself, minimal contact with the actual software. Theoretically, you could just press play, and then besides that, it's all on this small, cheap piece of hardware.